Hello there. I hope that you are fine wherever you are. My name is Mary if you are coming across my channel for the first time. And if you're a returning subscriber, as always, I love you from the bottom of my heart. If you're coming across this channel for the first time and you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing. Why don't you like this video? Thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up. Remember to drop your comment. Let's talk. It is always good to talk. So let's talk about challenges that parents, and more so working parents, experience in 21st century. I'm a working parent, and therefore I'm speaking from also my own experience, and I've done my own research. I've talked to parents and I know what I'm talking about. So one of the challenges that most parents experience in this 21st century is lack of time or scarcity of time. There is no time. There is no time for working parents. No time to be at home. No time to be present in your children's life. There is literally no time. And the reason is because you are a profession. You have maybe an 8 to 5 job. Sometimes you are sent out of your town. Sometimes you go to work abroad, and that limits you, just being there for your family. And it is so hard. And the reason is because of the modern kind of families that we have. Picture this. In the past, in the traditional families, we had one partner working, and that most of course, not even most, the men would go to work, women would remain at home to take care of the babies. But in the modern family, everyone is working, everyone is chasing for money. It is very rare to find maybe people, or let me call them partners, that are not working. It is very rare. I know we have people that don't work because maybe of lack of employment, but majority of people are working parents, and therefore we lack time to spend with our children. Like, for example, myself, I'm a working single mother. So what does that mean? It means that most of the time, especially during when schools are on, I'm not at home from around 6:30 in the morning up to sometimes even 6:30 in the evening. I'm at work. And what does that mean? It means that most of the time when I get at home, the time that I'm going to spend with my children is minimal, very minimal, because there's no time. Once you get at home, you need to prepare supper, you need to check out on homework, and etc and etc. And therefore it is one of the biggest challenge that majority of working parents are experiencing, unless you're working from your house. And that does not mean that even if you're working from your house, that you have all the time to be present, just to be present and spend time with your children. The second challenge that most working parents are experiencing is they lack emotional connection with their children. And my dear parent, let us be very, very, very careful with this. Emotional connection. Most parents are working. By the end of the day, you are tired. That is the truth. You are tired. That is the truth. You are tired. You are exhausted. When you get home, you just want to take a quick shower and sleep. You don't want even to maybe to be disturbed by children. And if you can agree with me, most of the our men, let me talk about the men. Most of the men have this challenge. At least for women, when we get home, we try our level best to bond with the children. But for men, you'll find like they create a wall. It's like, no, I just want to relax. So what do we lack? Emotional connection. Bonding is very important. Very important. If you can remember, and if you've been watching my channel for a long time, I've talked about bonding. And bonding is so important. And that is why you'll realize that if you just look around, some parents at old age, they feel like their children are rejecting them. But remember, the children are rejecting them because they did not have an emotional connection. And because it is a challenge that we are experiencing, because we are so busy, we are so busy, very busy, but we need to do something around that. Connect with your children. Connect with your children. I interact with students, and as I always say, there's a beauty that comes with being a teacher. Because once you're a teacher, there are so many things that you learn from your students. They come to you, they talk to you. I've talked to students under my docket of guidance and counseling, students that have told me that most of the time when they're at home, once their parent gets at home, if they were just sitting in the sitting room, relaxing and all that, they all freeze and move out of the sitting room. There are those children that cannot sit down and have a conversation with their parents. There are those children that will never ever share their challenges with parents, and the reason is just lack of emotional connection. There is no emotional connection, and that means that your child sees you as a stranger. Just imagine, you look like a stranger. So, if you are a stranger, how do you expect this child to be open to you? That is one of the challenge that is actually killing families. Killing families. Here in Kenya, a few months ago, if I'm not wrong, 6 months ago, we had a parent, an old mzee, who took his son to court. And he was demanding for the son to ensure that he takes care of the old man. And the son was adamant. And if you look at it from a different perspective, if you look at it as a counselor, if you look at it as a person who has done psychology, you will just come to a conclusion that between the boy and the father, there was no emotional connection. And therefore, you cannot force it at old age. If you took your child to school, remember and let me not even use the past tense. If you're taking your child to school, that does not mean that it is now your right for them to take care of you when you're old. What you are doing, let me remind you, my dear parent, because I'm a parent, what you are doing is you're just playing your responsibility as a parent, providing your child with education without any expectation. Let me go to the third challenge that most parents are experiencing in the 21st century. And this one is on child abuse. Dear parent, let me tell you one thing that you don't know, or maybe you are aware of. Your child could be undergoing abuse under the hands of the people that you have entrusted them with. I don't know whether you agree with me. I don't know whether you agree with me on this. How many times have we seen in, over the television, news, when news is being broadcasted, how many times have we seen house helps that traumatize children? And for this matter, I'm talking about babies. How often have you seen that happening? It is there. Sometimes these children are abused. And the problem is not the child. The problem is the challenge of a working parent. We are not present. We saw a case of a young lady who went to work in Saudi Arabia, and she left her child under the care of a friend, and the child was killed. It happens. Sometimes you can entrust your children even to your own parents, and when you send, money to facilitate their well-being, they are not sorted out. Sometimes you may find your children are malnourished. Sometimes they lack even clothes and all that. That is part of abuse. It has even gone to an extent where we have, and especially our daughters, being sexually abused by people. Sometimes it even could be a neighbor. And the reason is because as a parent, you are not present. And nowadays, we don't just focus on our daughters alone. Our sons can be sodomized. They can be introduced to drugs and substance abuse, and we don't know. And the reason is because we are busy working as parents. What are we going to do? The solution will come from you and I. Please drop your comment here. What are we going to do around this? Because if you are not keen, if you are not careful, if you are not vigilant enough, then we are going to lose a whole generation. We are going to lose a whole generation. We are going to have families that are not functional. Have you ever seen people who go to university and when they start working, they cut all connection with their family members? Ask yourself the reason. And the answer is on what I've just said. Lack of emotional connection. And therefore they don't feel like they miss any person. There's no connection. Who are you missing? Maybe this is a child even who grew up in a toxic environment where maybe the father was abusive to the mother. My dear parent, we have a lot to do. And that is why I want us to have this conversation, to keep on talking to each other. Come up with suggestions. Come up with way forward so that we can know how best to help ourselves as working parents, and also ensure that we don't neglect our responsibilities by just entrusting our children to people. What do you think of this video? Please give it a thumbs up. Like. You can share with your friends. And if you're coming across the channel for the first time and you like what I'm doing, why don't you consider subscribing? Thank you so much for your time and goodbye.